RoboCop 2 realizes it's a sequel to one of the greatest movies of all time and that it has some pretty big robo shoes to fill. That's why RoboCop 2 offers more action, more suspense, more exaggerated robot movements, more of those sound effects. At the start of RoboCop 2, things are still pretty terrible in Detroit and the police are on strike except for Murphy and Lewis. So wait, RoboCop is a scab? Way to side with management, you sellout. There's a new drug called Nuke that is sweeping through the city and is being manufactured by Kane, the leader of the Nuke cult. Nuke is highly addictive and produces feelings of slightly better mood. Seriously, looks like you can get the same effects from watching kitten videos. Oh yeah, that's the shit. Hook it to my veins. RoboCop goes to the warehouse where Nuke is manufactured and... is it just me or are there way too many babies at this drug lab? Okay, that might just be the same baby twice, but that is still way too many babies to be at a drug lab. Kane gets away, as does his number 2 henchboy Hob. But don't let that part that's gouged into his skull fool ya. He's as ruthless as they come. Since RoboCop gained back some of his humanity, he does the most human thing ever and starts stalking his ex-wife. She's understandably distraught by this and threatens legal action against OCP.
Do you think you could ever be a husband to her? What can you offer her? Love? A man's love?
I didn't hear any complaints from your wife last night. Seriously though, I was planning on taking her out to a date night and then making a joke about my hard drive and see where it leads from there. I haven't dated in many years, so I'm afraid I'm a bit... rusty? Get it? Because I'm made of metal? The first RoboCop had a number of themes throughout that were a direct reference to the life of Jesus Christ. A just man being brutally put to death only to resurrect a few days later, walking on water, stopping hostage situations, you know, all the things that Jesus did. The theme of RoboCop 2 is that sequels are typically not as good as the originals. It makes sense, but they probably shouldn't drive the point home quite as much as they do.
Stop or I'll shoot.
Alex Murphy, top of his class, devout Irish Catholic, family man. Everything in his profile indicates a fierce sense of duty. That's probably what kept him alive. You can find someone else, someone to whom the prospect might even be desirable.
These are death row inmates.
And of no use to society. Shank, we need a subject to welcome the power, the virtual immortality we offer.
She decides to use death row inmates because she believes they'll be super grateful to be alive and therefore wouldn't commit suicide and something, then they will have a strong desire to uphold the law. RoboCop tracks Kane and his men to a factory and everything is going well until RoboCop faces his biggest enemy yet. Magnets. Honestly, what took criminals so long to figure out that weakness? Kane and his gang chop up RoboCop and OCP says it'll cost too much to reassemble him and that they should just scrap him because he's a machine. But the police say that it's cruel because he's feeling pain. And the debate goes on and on about whether he's still Alex Murphy or not, even though I thought the end of the original pointed to that being the case. Is it not? Are we just starting over from scratch with this whole idea? They end up reassembling RoboCop and they program him into the most fearsome creature known to man. A super positive dork.
How you feeling, Murphy?
I'm just fine, Warren. Thank you for asking. Pity. It's a beautiful morning. Isn't the moon wonderful tonight?
Disgusting. RoboCop electrocutes himself to overwrite his Ned Flanders programming, and it erases all of his directives. So I'm guessing he's operating as Alex Murphy again? Please pull over. My robo-foot is stuck in the grill. Seriously, I can't move it. Kind of getting freaked out over here. Kane gets hospitalized and is eventually chosen for the RoboCop 2 project.
My existence is pure torture and ooh, is that Nuke?
And we have it. All the nuclear...
Numbers, give me Nuke. Nuke.
Okay, you have a psychotic, nihilistic cult leader's brain encased in a nigh-indestructible shell, and this robot man is still horribly addicted to drugs? He's supposed to be a cop, right? It's RoboCop 2. How is this a step up from RoboCop 1? I mean, sure, Alex Murphy goes against his programming sometimes, but he only does that to fight crime better. So Detroit officially defaults on his loan and OCP takes over control of the city. You know, my city was bought out by Tower Records, and it was not a good idea. They themselves went bankrupt shortly thereafter, and they were bought out by a Sam Goody, which in turn was bought out by a Radio Shack, and now the city's just run by a guy named Dan. No one even knows the dude's last name. He just showed up one day and set up a central government based on Dan. And he replaced our currency with Dan bucks, which is fine within the city limits, but none of the other neighboring cities will honor them.
Ladies and gentlemen, with great pleasure, I give you RoboCop 2.
Oh, so that's the design they went with for RoboCop 2, huh? Okay, definitely not as cool as the original RoboCop. Again, they are really sticking to the theme in this movie.
This single container holds enough nuke to addict a city block.
Nuke? Yeah, that's a nuke. You give me a nuke now?
And then Kane takes the remote that's controlling him and apparently pushes the free will button. Just dynamite. RoboCop and RoboCop 2 start to fight, and RoboCop is getting his ass kicked pretty handily until RoboCop 2's biggest weakness is exploited.
Give me some of that sweet, sweet nuke. Inject it directly into my heart. Oh man, I am flying far out. Does anyone have a guitar?
You just blessed Reaper, that song is amazing.
And the old man and his executives suggest putting all the blame on Juliet Fax. Here's where I would say stay tuned for the exciting conclusion to the RoboCop saga, but spoiler alert, absolutely nothing that has happened so far in these first two movies is of any consequence whatsoever, so just put it all out of your mind. All right, well, enjoy.